LT,
Yes, sir. How you doing?
congratulations. You are now a Dallas Cowboy.
Let's do it, Coach.
LT Overton just signed a 4-year deal with the Dallas Cowboys for $5 million. He is the 137th pick of the 2026 NFL Draft. But what you probably didn't know is that 4 years before that pick, this same player was the #1 ranked high school player in the entire country and the #1 overall recruit in his class. 5 stars from every major service. And then guess what? He disappeared. But before we break this down for you, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button, and with that, let's go. So what happened? How does #1 recruit America vanish from the national conversation in less than 2 years? It all started when Terry Price passed away. The Texas A&M defensive ends coach who recruited LT to College Station passed away in June of 2023 at the age of 55. Price had spent 28 years coaching defensive linemen in the SEC. He developed first overall NFL draft pick Myles Garrett, as a matter of fact, and he was one of the biggest reasons LT chose Texas A&M over every other program in the country. And between LT's freshman and sophomore seasons, he was gone. And then the program itself collapsed. Jimbo Fisher's staff was falling apart, the locker room was fractured, and LT went from playing 11 games as a freshman to just 7 as a sophomore. His production cratered. 17 tackles, 0 sacks, 0 tackles for loss. The former #1 recruit in America was barely seeing the field. But by November, Fisher was fired. Michael Elko was brought in from Duke. Then Elijah Robinson, the other key coach who helped recruit LT, left to become the defensive coordinator. And the 2 coaches who believed in LT the most were both gone. New staff, new schemes, and new expectations. And the program LT had bet his future on didn't even look like the same anymore. But then in December of 2023, LT and his brother Micaiah both entered the transfer portal. They were part of a wave of Aggies heading for the exit. And this is where the outside world wrote him off. A former #1 recruit with 1 decent freshman year and a vanishing sophomore season. The draft analysts moved on. The narrative was already forming. Maybe the hype was bigger than the player, is what they would say. But to understand why that narrative was wrong, you need to know where LT came from. Lebbeus Thomas Overton was born on October 11, 2004 in College Station, Texas. His first name means he who has compassion, but there was nothing soft about the world he grew up in. You see, his father, Milton Overton, was a 4-year starter on the offensive line at the University of Oklahoma. After football, Milton built a career in college athletic administration. He served as an associate athletic director at Texas A&M and then spent 6 years as a senior associate athletic director at the University of Alabama and would eventually become the athletic director of Kennesaw State. And his mother, Eunice Thomas, was a standout volleyball player at the University of Kentucky who went on to coach at the college level before working in academic advising at Alabama and Texas A&M. You see, you had 2 Division I athletes raising a family inside the world of college sports. LT didn't just grow up watching football, he grew up right inside the machine. He flew to Alabama games growing up and watched Nick Saban's teams up close. The expectations in the Overton house was not optional. Both parents were first-generation student athletes. He knew exactly what the grind looked like. LT's older brother Micaiah played defensive line at Liberty University, and the 2 had been competing against each other since they were young. That sibling rivalry pushed both of them. LT started high school at Bessemer Academy in Bessemer, Alabama, and this is where the legend begins. As a freshman, he recorded 105 tackles, 42 tackles for loss, and 19 sacks. As a freshman, he wasn't just a football player either. He was a starter on the basketball team and helped Bessemer win a state championship on the court. One of his basketball coaches said LT would have been scary good if he had fully committed to basketball. The physical tools were obvious: long arms, explosive hips, a frame that kept filling out. When the family moved to Georgia, LT transferred to Milton High School, where he played multiple positions on the defensive line and helped his team reach the Georgia 7A state championship game. Before he even started his sophomore year at Milton, 247 Sports ranked him as the #1 overall prospect in the entire 2023 recruiting class, the #1 player in America. He earned Under Armour All-American honors and had offers from every powerhouse program you can name. But LT didn't want to wait. He reclassified from the class of 2023 into the class of 2022, skipping his entire senior year of high school and enrolling at Texas A&M at just 17 years old. Most 17-year-olds are worried about homecoming. LT Overton was walking into an SEC weight room competing against grown men. His brother Micaiah transferred from Liberty to A&M that same year so the two could play together. As a true freshman in 2022, LT played in 11 games and recorded 31 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, and a sack. For a 17-year-old on an SEC roster, those numbers showed real potential. Everything pointed toward a breakout sophomore season. And then came the collapse we already told you about. The death of Terry Price, the fall of Jimbo Fisher's program, the disappearance of a 5-star talent from the national radar. But LT knew the difference between a player who can't play and a player who never got the chance. He'd been underutilized, not underdeveloped. He chose Alabama, and the decision wasn't random. His father had spent 6 years in Alabama's athletic department. His mother had worked there for a decade. LT had grown up around the program. He knew the culture. And he knew defensive line coach Freddie Roach. Roach saw the same things Terry Price had seen years earlier. A powerful, physical athlete with NFL traits who needed the right system to unlock his potential. LT committed almost immediately. But 2024 wasn't an instant transformation. In his first season at Alabama, LT appeared in all 13 games but earned only 4 starts. He wasn't handed anything. He fought for every snap. He finished with 42 tackles, 2 sacks, and led the defensive side with 9 quarterback hurries. The stats were decent, but what they didn't show was the foundation being built underneath. Freddie Roach was teaching LT how to play with better leverage, how to use his hands more effectively, and how to anchor against the run with consistency. The 2024 season was about earning trust. Then came 2025, and that's when LT Overton finally became the player everyone always thought he could be. He started 12 of 13 games. He recorded 42 tackles, 6 tackles for loss, and 4 sacks. He finished second on the Alabama roster in sacks. He was setting edges against the run, collapsing pockets from both the inside and the outside, and disrupting plays on a weekly basis. 2 full seasons at Alabama produced 84 total tackles, 9 tackles for loss, 6 sacks, and 13 quarterback hurries. That tape opened eyes across the league, but the draft process was far from smooth. At the NFL Combine, LT measured in at 6'3", 274 pounds. He ran a 4.87 40-yard dash. His arms measured 33¼ inches. He chose not to participate in the vertical or broad jump. His drills showed power and intensity, but also revealed limitations. Evaluators described him as slow twitch. They questioned his lateral quickness and his ability to threaten tackles around the corner as a pure edge rusher. Lance Zierlein at NFL.com wrote that Overton plays with impressive power and a rugged demeanor, but that power alone wouldn't overcome limited burst off the line. At his pro day, LT showed up at 287 pounds and ran the same 4.87. The added weight signaled to scouts he could potentially move inside and play defensive tackle at the next level. But the tweener label stuck. Was he an edge rusher or a tackle? Teams compared him to former 4th-round pick Adetomiwa Adebawore, a player who also had the physical tools but faced questions about his best position. When scouts can't figure out where a player fits, that player falls. And those 2 quiet seasons at Texas A&M still lingered. Some teams saw growth in the Alabama tape. Others saw inconsistency. For a player who was once the consensus #1 recruit in the country, the gap between expectation and production made evaluators nervous. Draft day arrived. Rounds 1 through 3 passed. The phone in the Overton living room stayed silent. LT sat with his family, the same family that had been inside this world his entire life. His father, a former college offensive lineman. His mother, a former college volleyball player. They knew what this moment meant. Round 4 started and teams kept passing. The former #1 recruit in America was still sitting on that couch. Then the phone rang. It was Jerry Jones. With the 137th pick, Dallas selected LT Overton. The Cowboys had spent the entire draft rebuilding their defense, and for good reason. In 2025, Dallas had the 30th ranked defense in the NFL. They allowed over 30 points per game for the first time in franchise history. They were dead last in third down defense, red zone defense, and passing defense. The overhaul started in free agency and continued through every round of the draft. Caleb Downs in the first round, Malachi Lawrence in the second, Jay Sean Barham in the third. But the defensive line still needed a physical, versatile body who could play multiple spots along the front. When they saw LT still sitting there deep in round 4, they pulled the trigger. LT got the call. His family was right there with him. After reclassifying at 17, after losing the coach who believed in him, after watching his program collapse, after betting on himself in the transfer portal and spending a full year earning his way into the Alabama starting lineup, Levius Thomas Overton was an NFL player. LT is now wearing number 99 for the Dallas Cowboys. They see him as a defensive tackle with the ability to kick outside to end on certain packages. He'll be working alongside former Alabama standout Quinnen Williams and learning under position coach Chidera Uzo-Diribi, who was brought in from Georgia to coach exactly the type of raw, powerful defensive lineman that LT represents. At rookie minicamp, he didn't talk about the slide. He didn't make excuses. He's 21 years old, the second youngest player in the Cowboys rookie class, and he walked into the Star in Frisco ready to earn his spot the same way he earned it at Alabama. One rep at a time. Levius Thomas Overton, number 99, a Dallas Cowboy. And at 21 years old, the story is just getting started.